Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Rooney, President and CEO of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, and I hope you're joining us feeling well and safe and in a good spring mood today. Certainly the season is upon us, and things are starting to open up, and I'm sure Secretary Keneally will mention a few of those updates that are happening. But today is about our Pacesetters program here at the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, which is a program primarily focused on connecting major corporations that procure a lot of goods and services with the buy side, with the small minority, in particular businesses in the Commonwealth. But today we have a special feature, Doing Business with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, featuring its Supplier Diversity Office. During our journey with the Pacesetters program, in many circumstances, we have suppliers who ask the questions about how do I do business with this company, or how do I do business with this division of government? And there's issues of transparency and confusion. Don't always know the door in, don't always know the process. Who do I connect to? So this Doing Business With series is intended to demystify a lot of those questions. And today, as I said, we're going to hear from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in a presentation and overview of the newly expanded Office of Supplier Diversity, its function, as well as an overview of the state certification process for minority business enterprises. A few notes before we begin the program. I want to give a big thank you to our sponsors, John Hancock and Eastern Bank. We're extremely appreciative of their support of this program in general, and their strong advocacy in making a statement here in Massachusetts about the importance of providing economic opportunity within the business community. I also want to flag that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared on the Chamber's YouTube page shortly after the presentation. And I want to encourage people to submit their questions through the Q&A feature. You can put them in during the presentations if something pops in your head, and we'll come back to them. So use that Q&A feature, or if you're unable to do it or uncomfortable, email us questions at chamberprograms@bostonchamber.com, and someone on our team will get them over to me. So let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce today's speakers. I'll start with Bill McAvoy, the Executive Director of the Commonwealth Supplier Diversity Office. In his role, Bill helps connect diverse businesses with contracting opportunities with the Commonwealth. Bill has long been committed to supporting equitable procurement policies, and he himself participates in the National Association of State Procurement Offices. So thank you for joining us, Bill. We'll also feature Wanda Colon-D'Angelo, the Director of Diverse and Small Business and Certification for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Wanda has been an advocate for women, veteran-owned, and disadvantaged businesses for equity and inclusion for the past 15 years in the Supplier Diversity Office. So Wanda brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to this subject matter, and has been a key player in the oversight of the SDO certification process for statewide and out-of-state business. Welcome, Wanda. We're also joined by Dmitry Nikolaev. Dmitry is the Director of Policy Programs and Reporting for the SDO. In his role, Dmitry has been an ally for diversifying procurement practices within the Commonwealth. Thank you. But we're going to kick it off with a special appearance by a good friend, Mike Keneally, who is the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development for the Commonwealth. Secretary Keneally's focus is on creating economic opportunity for residents, collaborative leadership in communities, an environment that supports job creation and business growth, and new housing for residents through targeted investments. And just before I welcome Secretary Keneally Over the past, I guess, 13 or 14 months now, Secretary Keneally's office has been a real ally and friend to the entire business community as we navigated our way through this pandemic, health crisis, economic crisis, and of course, the racial reckoning that we all experienced in this country. And I know that Secretary Keneally brings every fiber in his body to the work of making sure that the Commonwealth practices business in an inclusive way and makes the kinds of changes that are necessary. Pleasure to work with here in the business community. So with that, I'll turn it over to Secretary Mike Keneally.
Hey, Jim, thank you so much for the really kind introduction and the chance to be with you all today. I very much appreciate the opportunity to come and speak on this important topic. And of course, big thanks to the Chamber for your partnership, your collaboration over these last 13, 14 months. I really can't say enough about the way the business community has sort of rallied to this moment and worked with us on so many important things. That the Chamber's been a terrific partner in that regard. We've been having these, we started out doing weekly calls, now every other week calls with all the business groups around the state. And Jim, very much appreciate your participation in those and all the thoughts you've given us along the way with respect to reopening, economic recovery, and of course, this very important topic today. I thought what I might do is share a few thoughts on our view on supporting minority-owned businesses generally. And I'll start with this. You know, before COVID, we had an economy that was probably the envy of the country, if not the world, in a lot of respects. We had less than 3% unemployment. We had added a couple 100,000 jobs over the first 5 years of the Baker-Polito administration. We were a high-wage, high-growth state, a lot of opportunity, continue to have leadership positions in so many important sectors of the economy. So back then, pre-COVID, the economy looked really, really strong. And all the numbers I shared are sort of top-line summary numbers for the whole state. We recognized even then that there were disparities around the state in terms of the ability of all citizens and all communities to access and share that prosperity. So back then, as we were putting together our economic development plan in 2019, we came up with a few sort of foundational principles. And one of those principles was equity. And this obviously, as I said, was before COVID-19. But recognized back then there were disparities in terms of economic growth and prosperity and opportunity around the state. And we recognize as well that minority-owned companies typically have not had the same access to networks and technical assistance and space and capital as other companies. So this was part of our plans for a long time now. And in some respects, you know, COVID-19 has sort of accelerated some negative trends, or as we say it around here, fast forward to the future in some respects. And really, in this respect, I think shown a much brighter spotlight on some of those disparities. We clearly saw that during the pandemic with the disproportionate impact on communities of color that the virus had and the incredible impact it's had on small companies. And so we've endeavored to help in a few different respects with small businesses. One is by capital. And just last week, we announced the conclusion of a very successful small business relief grant program run by the Mass Growth Capital Corporation. It's about a $700 million program. It helped fund 15,000 companies around the state. Big thanks, as always, to the team at Mass Growth for executing this program. We announced this at the end of last year as part of a broader economic recovery strategy, but we thought it was very important at this moment to get more capital in the hands of our companies and really to prioritize the grant program in a couple of respects. One was to focus on the industries that have been hardest hit. So you can imagine what those are: restaurants, retail, hospitality, services, sort of the Main Street businesses, but also take a demographic focus as well and have a focus on women-owned companies, minority-owned companies, veteran-owned companies. Again, those businesses that historically have not had the same access to capital. And in concluding the program last week, the governor and I and others are very proud to announce that 43% of the awards went to minority-owned businesses. And we're very grateful for a number of key stakeholders that help us get capital where we wanted it to go to. Groups like Amplify Latinx, BECMA, the Business Equity Initiative, LISC, LEAF, Small Business Strong, MACDC, and others. And it really taught us the incredible value of partnerships in this regard. These groups are all terrific to work with and all helped us execute on this mission of getting capital into the hands of those companies. You know, a number of those groups have come together to form something called the Coalition for an Equitable Economy. And I would say their mission is frankly very similar to our mission. It's how can we create a recovery in an economy where there's more equity and more opportunity so that all of our citizens, all of our communities can share in that. So capital for small business has been a core part of our strategy now for a while. In addition, we recognize that businesses need more than capital, they need assistance. And so we have funded now at record levels our Small Business Technical Assistance Program. We've gone through a couple rounds of funding since the pandemic started, with one more upcoming. And we're about to launch a special program now, technical assistance specifically around digital capabilities and helping our Main Street businesses that have a physical presence do more online. I think it's a really important capability for all of our small businesses to have. And you'll see us announce some other programs going forward, a matching grant program, programs through our CDFIs. We tried to support our Main Street businesses in other ways through our Shared Streets and Spaces program, giving capital to our cities and towns so they can build out more space for outdoor dining and outdoor commerce. Our tourism recovery grants, our My Local campaign, which encourages people to shop on Main Street. We'll have a lot more to say about that going forward, but we recognize the incredible impact, to say the least, that the pandemic has had on our smallest companies, particularly our minority-owned companies, and we've tried to be helpful with capital and assistance. I'll touch a little bit on our supplier diversity initiatives. I know Bill's going to get into that quite a bit more. I will say there was a recent report that came out by the Boston Foundation of Mass Inc., and it talked about how to support minority entrepreneurs. And one of the key findings was the importance of market access. Yes, we need to provide capital. Yes, we need to provide assistance and networks, but also access to markets is a really critical part of a robust support strategy. And we recognize that. And since taking office, our administration's worked to promote diversity, inequality, and equality in state contracting. We've increased direct spending on minority business enterprises by the executive branch. We've consistently met and raised annual benchmarks in that regard and grown our supplier diversity program. In February of last year, Governor Baker filed legislation to promote participation by minority and women-owned businesses in state construction projects. We'll continue to press on that topic in this legislative session, and also announced, I'm sure Bill may cover this in some more detail, a comprehensive set of measures to increase diversity in state contracting. And they include a number of things, including a more active role for the Supplier Diversity Office in engaging diverse and small businesses, publishing minority business enterprise spending by race and ethnicity, so producing data that tells us how well we're doing, expanding the small business purchasing program, increasing bid evaluation percentages for certain procurements to promote more diversity, the so-called Massport model, as well as translating Supplier Diversity Office materials into multiple languages. And as a result of legislation filed and signed by Governor Baker, the Supplier Diversity Office has now been elevated to a state agency in January, and we recommended $2.4 million in funding in our House 1 budget this year for the SDO. So we really think we've got a good strategy. We're empowering the Supplier Diversity Office with the tools and resources they need to work across the executive branch on our diversity spending plans to ensure accountability and compliance with diversity goals, and to really oversee our spending and to audit and review spending data. We think by improving the Supplier Diversity Office, we're helping to ensure the Commonwealth takes every opportunity to support and benefit from its diverse business community. And it's also important to note, we've worked very closely with leaders in the minority business community, the Black and Latino Caucus, the Black Advisory Commission, and the Latino Advisory Commission on these new initiatives. We're proud of this record, but there's a lot more to do. And that's why programs like this, the Pacesetters program, is so critical. We're so pleased to be a participant in it and look forward to further work in this very important area ahead. I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bill McAvoy to talk about some of these topics in more detail. But again, I very much appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Jim, thank you so much for your partnership and that of the Chamber. And thank you so much for this Pacesetters program, a really, really important contribution to our economy here in Massachusetts. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Secretary Keneally. Great to be here today. And thanks also to President Rooney and to all of the folks from the Chamber, and especially to the folks from the Pacesetter program, Doing Business, the Doing Business series. It's an honor to be here today to present some of the great things we're doing in the Supplier Diversity Office. Secretary Keneally has outlined some of those program changes we've been implementing over the past 4 months, and we're going to talk in greater detail about them right now. Let me bring up the PowerPoint presentation that we're going to be presenting today. Okay, once again, my name is Bill McAvoy. I'm the Executive Director of the Supplier Diversity Office. As Jim mentioned, I'm joined today by Wanda Colon D'Angelo, who is the Director of Diverse and Small Business Certification. I'm also joined by Dmitry Nikolaev, who is the Director of Programs, Policy, and Reporting. Here's some of the things we're going to be covering today. I'll be giving an overview and initiatives that we're undertaking at the Supplier Diversity Office. Wanda will talk about our certification. Dmitry will talk about programs and opportunities, and also, excuse me, some next steps. And lastly, we'll be wrapping up with some resources and our contact information so that folks can reach out to us directly. The Supplier Diversity Office, our mission is to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in state contracting. That's done in several ways. First of all, by certifying minority, women, Portuguese, veteran, service-disabled veteran, disability, LGBT-owned, and small Massachusetts businesses. Another part of our mission is to connect all of those businesses with the great resources and business opportunities that are available in the Commonwealth by our organizations, as well as other non-public organizations. We do this in a number of ways. First of all, we serve as a gateway for these businesses to access a wide range of programs that we have available for diverse and small businesses. We also coordinate those programs. We also offer resources for institutional diverse and small businesses. And lastly, we report on our diverse programs for the results for the entire Commonwealth, where we include other public entities in those reports. The case for supplier diversity, in case folks don't know, it's very reflective of our values, reflective of our citizens. It addresses documented disparities in contracting, public contracting opportunities. It engages our constituents, supports local economies, promotes innovation, enhances competition, improves customer service, and results in diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Commonwealth. Secretary Keneally mentioned some of these program and policy changes we've implemented thus far. As the Supplier Diversity Office was elevated in January to becoming an oversight executive agency. We were previously part of an agency, part of the Procurement Office of the Commonwealth. We're elevated and made into, again, an independent agency. We've had kickoff meetings with secretariats and agencies in order to tell them about some of our planned program changes going forward. We're also appointing asked each agency and secretariat to appoint a supplier diversity officer so that each entity is focused on making sure that we're implementing all of these changes throughout each one of their organizations. We're also being more intentional, and that means that we are asking agencies and the executive branch to submit to us procurement plans so we know for next fiscal year what procurements they're going to be implementing and they're going to be issuing as business opportunities available to diverse businesses. We're also promoting these opportunities to our diverse business partners. We're also going to be increasing the evaluation percentage assigned to SDP plans. Previously, it was 10% of the available points. Now it's going to be representing 25% of the available points when the procurement is being evaluated. We're also breaking our spending out. For example, for fiscal year 20, our minority spending is going to be broken out by race and ethnicity. The general numbers themselves will be broken out so you'll be able to see which of each one of the groups within MBE is represented. For example, Black business spending, Latinx business spending, Asian business spending, et cetera. Also, starting in July, we're going to be reporting our indirect spend by type. That means some indirect spend is represented by subcontracting, where the product is actually going through the supply chain from a minority business, for example, through a contractor to the final user of that product. It could also be indirect spending could also include what's called operational type of spending. For example, some types of services that could be done at a corporate headquarters for a company that if we've changed, helped to change the spending within that corporation, within that prime contractor, that type of spending also could count towards supplier diversity spending. We're also going to be standing up, effective in July, a supplier diversity compliance unit. And that's very important. It's going to be focused on 3 areas of compliance. First of all, certification compliance, making sure that certified businesses are in fact still qualify for certification. Second is contractor compliance. If a contractor has made a commitment in a contract of a certain percentage of their spend that will be going to diverse businesses, we're going to be confirming that that amount is actually taking place. Hopefully they're exceeding that amount, but we're going to be making sure that they're at least meeting the contractual commitment. And lastly, agency commitment, agency compliance, for those benchmarks that are established for the executive branch. Dimitri's going to talk about those benchmarks in more detail. Also, effective July 1st, we're going to be making some changes to some of the thresholds for our procurements. Small procurements currently are under $150,000 in total value. Effective July 1st, those will be $250,000 per year in total value, so it's going up substantially. The way that our programs are aligned, Dimitri's going to talk about in more detail. Our small procurements are for small Massachusetts businesses, which should be awarded to small Massachusetts business that meet the threshold requirements. Large procurements are anything over those thresholds for small procurements. So again, anything over $250,000 per year will be considered large procurement. And that's where the supplier diversity program requirements kick in. And that's where diverse businesses defined as minority, women, veteran, LGBT, or disability-owned businesses can be a partner to a prime contractor getting a contract. We're talking now about the resources that we're making available to agencies, which will also benefit the diverse businesses. And there are these 3 lanes we're having for these resources being made available to agencies. Again, as I mentioned previously, the first lane is agencies telling us what upcoming procurements they will have in their upcoming fiscal year. If we have a longer period of time, for example, 12 months versus 1 or 2 months to know about some of those procurements. And the middle lane is where we're going to be working with some of our diverse businesses to promote those procurement opportunities to the diverse businesses, to tell them, hey, here's the procurement that the Department of whatever is procuring in the next 2 months, 6 months, 12 months. If you're interested in attending trainings or you're looking for some resources, please let us know in order to be able to assist those businesses to get ready to bid on those opportunities and to hopefully either win them as contractors or to at least be partners to a prime bidder that is looking to diversify the spending as part of their contract. One of the primary components we're looking at also in that central lane, ongoing procurements, is to identify and remove barriers for diverse and small businesses. We find many times, for example, in procurements by state agencies, they'll have a requirement, for example, that a business be in business for at least 10 years in order to be awarded a contract. That may not be necessary in most instances, that you be in business 10 years, or a requirement, for example, that you have done business with a public entity or a state agency. That is really, as we look at it, an insider's game. And that is not something that is beneficial to small or diverse businesses that are trying to find those opportunities to get contracts with the Commonwealth. The last lane, far right of this presentation, this slide, you'll see is where we're tracking and analyzing the spending of agencies and reporting that information back to them in terms of how they're doing during a fiscal year and helping them to hopefully do better as the year goes on. These now are the resources that we either have in place now or are going to be developing for diverse and small businesses. Our staffing at the Supplier Diversity Office is currently at 15 staff. As Secretary Keneally mentioned, there is a broadening of our budget request substantially from fiscal year 21 to 22. If and when the budget is approved, hopefully in July in a few months for fiscal year 22, we're hoping to expand our staffing so that we'd have up to 10 more staff. That's going to help us to develop a lot more of these resources that we've referenced here. Currently, we're offering certification services. Wanda's going to get into that in more detail, including cross-certification with some of our partners. And also, we maintain a certification business directory of 3,800 diverse businesses that we have certified. We also as a resource for diverse and small businesses, folks should go to combis.com. That's managed by the Operational Services Division, and that's where business opportunities are posted with the Commonwealth. We also have networking opportunities that we do with many of our partners, or that we will be planning on doing many more of starting in fiscal year 22, in order to bring diverse businesses together with prime contractors. We also are doing, as I mentioned earlier, the targeting messaging about bidding opportunities, where we're telling you about upcoming procurements being done by the Commonwealth. So in addition to getting notifications from Combis, once you've registered in Combis for free, we'll also tell you about opportunities a second and third time, perhaps, from the Supplier Diversity Office, getting those procurement, upcoming procurements being done by agencies. We'll tell you about those a second or third time, and we'll also reach out to you and say, do you need ask you if you need some resources in order to be able to assist you with that bid. We have some trainings available, limited trainings available by the Supplier Diversity Office. We'll be expanding upon those substantially starting in July. There are other agencies such as Division of Capital Asset Management, the Operational Services Division, and others that offer other trainings that are resources available for you as a diverse business. We also are going to be looking to develop capital resources, including reporting on opportunities with Mass Growth Capital and other organizations, including private banks, for example, that will make capital available to diverse businesses. In addition to other technical assistance and other types of resources, such as the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, SCORE, I mentioned Mass Growth Capital, Small Business Administration. These are examples of some of the many organizations that we're going to really house their links to these organizations on our website. So hopefully we will be going forward serve as the central hub for diverse businesses looking to do business with the Commonwealth. Lastly, we report on all of our success with doing business with diverse and small businesses in our annual report. We'll be issuing that soon for fiscal year 20. And this report includes all of the organizations, executive departments, and a few others that are fully participating in our programs, meaning the Supplier Diversity Program, the Small Business Purchasing Program. We also have narrative reports from quasi-public organizations, some of which are participating in our programs, and some of which are not participating in our programs, but they at least are reporting their information and their success in their programs in this annual report. Again, we want the Supplier Diversity Office to be that central hub, and we also want to be reporting, in addition to finding resources, we want you to be able to find out about the success of other programs throughout the Commonwealth. Lastly, in addition to executive departments that, again, we specifically oversee their programs, again, we're working with these quasi-public organizations, such as Mass Growth Capital, Mass Convention Center Authority, Mass Development, Massport, et cetera. In addition to those folks, we are working very closely to develop a playbook for municipalities to be able to develop supplier diversity programs. We presented this playbook to several cities and towns. Recently, we presented it to the Inspector General's Massachusetts Certified Public Procurement Official training. And so we're hoping, again, to make connections for you to be able to work with, again, Commonwealth entities, cities and towns, as well as private organizations that may want to be able to utilize our list of certified businesses and our resources. And the most valuable resource that we have, of course, is our list of certified businesses. And that is you, the organizations, the businesses that have become certified by us, that will hope to help the Commonwealth and all of our entities to diversify our portfolio of businesses that we're doing business with. It's my pleasure now to hand off the presentation to Wanda Colon-D'Angelo, again, who's going to talk about Commonwealth certification by the Supplier Diversity Office.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you for the Chamber for having us here this afternoon. Next slide, please. So the state certification program. You have to become certified with the state. You have to own at least 51%. You have to be a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, who is independently controls the managerial, financial, legal, operational expertise of the ongoing business. To the left here is the state certifications that we accept: MBE, WBE, VBE, minority nonprofit, woman nonprofit. Below that, and Portuguese-owned business enterprise. We also recognize other third parties, which are the service disabled business-owned, disability-owned business enterprise, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender business enterprise. Those three are recognized by other organizations. Next slide, please. So these are the recognized organizations that I was indicating from the previous for those certifications that we accept. So service disabled veteran-owned business or veteran-owned business is recognized through the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. If you are a disability-owned business or Adobe, you're recognized through the Disability Inc. We'll accept your certification. Also, NGLCC is if you're LGBT. So if you're certified by those three entities, you could become certified by us. All you need to submit is just your certification letter from those entities or their certificate. And it's like a fast track, and you're able to get fast track in our system. But just so you know, your certification is based on those organizations. So if those organizations renew every year, you have to make sure you renew with them every year. Because if you do not renew, then you will be kicked out. Whereas the other certifications that I indicated for the SDO that we do, those are 3-year certifications that we allow. Next slide, please. We have also other third-party organizations that we also recognize are from Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council. We have WeBank for Center for Women Enterprise. The two to the right are fee-based. If you wanted to be certified by us through those entities, one is for MBE, the other one's for WBE, is a way to get fast track through our system. So if you are already certified between those two entities, you could create a profile in our third party, and then we would just recognize you as the MBE or WBE. But like I indicated for the other one, it's based on their third party organization certificate. So if you have to renew with them every year, then you have to renew every year with us. Whereas if you come directly to the SDO portal and become MBE or WBE, that certification is for 3 years. We also have reciprocity with the Commonwealth with the City of Boston. So if you are certified with the City of Boston and you want to become certified with the state, all you need to submit to us is your letter from the City of Boston, and you would get fast track as a WBE or a MBE, and vice versa. If you wanted to get certified with the City of Boston, all you have to give them is a copy of our letter if you were already certified with the state. The one to the left, the DBE certification, that is if you are already DBE certified federal, right? We also fast track that certification for those companies that are DBE certified and want to become state certified. All they have to do is fill out like a 1-page and submit a couple of documents, and they become automatically MBE or WBE certified by us. Next slide, please. Right here, we also have in our system, if you go to our main webpage at the Supplier Diversity Office, we have a self-assessment tool that you could go in and self-assess to see what is it that you qualify for under your, you fill out a couple of questions and it automatically will tell you, what type of certification you would be eligible for. Next slide. This is a quick little process that I set up for the online application. The certification right now is online. It used to be a paper application that isn't any longer. So we have four lanes. I like how Bill indicated 4 lanes. I'm going to use that same 4 lanes. So the first lane is the online application. You have to register for an online webinar. You have to create your profile, upload the required documents, and then submit your application. Next, after you do that, then it gets assigned to an intake person in my office who's going to review all those submitted documents. They're either going to approve or reject them. You get notified via email, and you have only up to 30 days if anything gets rejected to submit the required document. If it passes the 30 days, your application gets inactivated. Then if everything goes smoothly and all those documents are approved, then it gets assigned to an investigator. Now the investigator, they're going to do a more thorough review of the documents. They're going to do a desk audit. Then they're going to schedule a virtual site visit with the company. And then they're going to write a summary report based on the required documents, required regulations. They submit that document to the certification board in the next line, and they either the certification committee makes the final determination whether the company is going to get certified, denied, or whether the company decides to get inactivated or decides to withdraw. That the only reason that would happen if they don't have enough of the documents when the investigator requests additional documents. So that's a quick, in a nutshell, the process for online certification. Next slide. This is a timeline because I get this question asked a lot. How long does the process take when you apply for certification with the state? Well, the first step is you have to attend that webinar that I indicated. We have that once a month. It's 2 hours. It's usually from 10 o'clock in the morning to 12. I actually do that webinar every month. After you attend the webinar, you have up to 1 year from attending the webinar to go and create your profile and submit your application. If it passes that 1 year, then you have to re-attend another workshop. From the time you attend you create your profile and all that, then it goes into the next lane, which is it gets reviewed by the intake person, gets assigned to an investigator, they do a desk audit. That could take 30 to 60 days. We get so many applications coming through the pipeline. And then I would say by the time they conduct their virtual site visit or site visit, then they write their report, the decisions made. It could take maybe within a week after that. I put there 15 to 30 days. So total, it could take between 30 to almost 90 days when you're coming in. Next slide, please. What are the benefits of certification? So there's no cost, it's free to apply. If awarded on a state contract, you have the ability to market your products and services to all Commonwealth agencies. And you're eligible to partner with diversity partner to the Commonwealth. We invite you to various trainings, network, matchmaking events that we're offering. And you have an eligibility to participate in supplier diversity programs that have quasi-public and private organizations also. Next slide. This is a little snapshot of our directory, the SDO directory. If you're trying to find a company that for services that they provide, this is, you go into the Supply Diversity Office main webpage, and then right here under search for directory, if you go to the page in the middle where it says keywords, you could just either type in the services you're looking for, or if you're looking for a certain company, you could just put it in there and it'll pop up the company. And if you wanted to completely upload or export our whole entire directory, you're able to completely the whole entire directory, and then you could just filter it according to how you want to look at companies that are already certified by us. Next slide. And that's it. I'll give it to Dimitri, who will go over now the programs for the Supply Diversity Office. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wanda and Bill, and thanks to the Chamber for having us. I will talk about the Supply Diversity Office programs and opportunities. Next slide. So the certification services provided by Wanda's group are really a gateway to 3 programs that the Supply Diversity Office maintains. These are the Small Business Purchasing Program, the Supply Diversity Program, and the Municipal Construction Affirmative Marketing Program, MCAMP. Let's start with the Small Business Purchasing Program. Next slide. Yep. So how do we define a small business? It's a business whose principal place of business is in Massachusetts, one that has been in operation for at least 1 year, one that currently employs 50 or fewer full-time equivalents in all locations combined, and finally, one grossing an average of $15 million or less based on the past 3 years. For those businesses, on an annual basis, the Supply Diversity Office spends a spending goal for state agencies. So in the beginning of each fiscal year, we set a spending goal for each executive agency to spend 3.3% of their discretionary budget with these businesses. This spending can take place based on existing contracts or based on new procurements. And whenever an agency is doing a new procurement, to support this, to support the engagement of small businesses, we require for all small procurements for the agency to actually provide special considerations for small businesses. Right now, these small procurements are a fairly limited number. They are up to $150,000 in total value per procurement. But starting with July 1st, the size of a small procurement is going to go up to $250,000 a year. So what does this mean? So whenever an agency plans to spend $250,000 a year on something, they will be required to provide special consideration to small businesses. What does it mean, a special consideration? Essentially, the executive agency would be required to award a contract to a small business if that small business meets the best value requirements of the bid. So this is a very significant change in the in policy. It's going to, we hope, provide a significant number of new business opportunities for Massachusetts small businesses. We also recognize that a lot of diverse businesses are small. Over 90% of them are small Massachusetts businesses. So this is hopefully going to provide a lot of business value to all of our constituents. Next slide. Moving on to the Supplier Diversity Program. The goal of this program is to increase the participation of the diverse businesses in the in state contracting. The categories eligible for participation are minority, woman-owned, veteran-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned, disability-owned, and LGBT-owned businesses. Starting in 2016, Massachusetts became the most the state with the most diverse supplier diversity program in the nation, recognizing all of these categories. While we recognize and encourage agencies to do business with all of these categories, so far we only have goals, spending goals for 3 of these categories. Minority business, 8% of each agency's discretionary budget. Woman-owned business, 14% of each agency's discretionary budget. And veteran businesses, 3% of each agency's discretionary budget. Why don't we have business spending goals for disability and LGBT-owned businesses? We are still building the capacity to the contracting capacity to actually set those goals. So we're tracking spending, we're engaging those businesses, we are convincing new businesses to get certified so that we would build up enough of them to be able to set a significant goal in the future. So the goals that I described can be, in a very similar way, met by agencies spending money directly with eligible businesses. In addition to that, we recognize that the state doesn't buy everything that diverse businesses offer. We do not buy flower arrangements or real estate services or even legal services in any considerable amount. So with that in mind, in addition to this direct engagement of diverse businesses, we also require for all statewide contracts, including diverse statewide contractors, to partner with diverse businesses. These partnerships range from subcontracting, in some cases, to general business needs, or what we call ancillary products and services. So A range of procurements that include this requirement, the requirement for every contractor on a resulting contract to have a partnership with one or more diverse business. That range of contracts is going to start, starting with July 1st, is going to start from $250,000 a year and above. So agencies, as a result, we will have an opportunity, like currently have an opportunity to meet their spending goals by either working with diverse vendors directly, and or by really working with each of their contractors to incorporate supply diversity into their business operations. Next slide. And the third program that I wanted to mention is the Municipal Construction Affirmative Marketing Program. It's a program that focuses on municipal projects, which includes state funding. And these are mostly public schools. For all of these projects, we establish minority and women-owned business spending goals for prime contractors. And the SDO monitors and assists municipalities and general contractors with attaining those goals. Currently, the sole focus of this program is on Massachusetts School Building Authority projects. And if you're interested in looking at what those projects are every year, you can just go to the MSBA website and see the list of projects. Next slide. Finally, we have a broad range of collaborations. We collaborate with the DCAM State Building Affirmative Marketing Program that is very similar to the Municipal Affirmative Marketing Program in its application of minority and women-owned goals to state funding, state-managed building projects. We work with MassDOT's Unified Certification Program. Wanda mentioned the fact that if you are a disadvantaged business enterprise, you can get certified as a minority or woman-owned business, sort of using an expedite route. In addition to that, it's very important to mention that the certifications issued by the Supply Diversity Office are recognized very widely across public entities, across quasi-public entities and private entities in the state. We collaborate with the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, the Mass Gaming Commission, UMass and the UMass Building Authority, the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, Massport, Mass Housing, Mass Growth Capital, the Massachusetts State College Building Authority, Mass Development, MSCBA, as I mentioned, and actually a wide range of other public and private entities. They recognize our certifications. Many of them work with us to identify potential prime contractors or partners for significant projects. They use us to promote their business opportunities, and many of them actually participate in our programs fully. The Massachusetts Gaming Commission, the Mass Convention Center Authority, and Mass Housing, for example, we share the same supply diversity goals. We share the same calculation methodologies for recognizing spending, and they participate in our annual report fully. They're included in all of our statistics. Other agencies on this page do participate as well, but they submit narrative reports telling us how they did this. The importance of the report is not just in patting ourselves on the back, really, but it's ensuring that we're all working together that we coordinate, that we talk to each other, that we set goals together, and encourage vendors that one organization works with to work with other organizations. So when we talk about the building community, the business community, we want you to recognize that it's not just the state that has supply diversity programs. All of these organizations have supply diversity efforts and are looking for diverse businesses to participate. Next slide. So what are some of the next steps that we want to suggest? Number one, if you're not registered in the state's online market center, Combis, please do it, let's say this month. We have a variety of resources to help you do that. There's a webcast on the registration process. You can just split your screen and watch the webcast and register. We have PDF job aids. We also have a variety of trainings available on using the system. If you are a diverse business that isn't certified, please get certified. Massachusetts businesses, as outlined by Wanda, should attend or have to attend a pre-certification workshop. You can sign up. I'm sure these slides are going to be shared, so you can just follow the link to sign up for the next available workshop. If you're an out-of-state business participating in this webinar, there's a way for out-of-state businesses to get certified with us as well. And finally, if you want more information than I just provided, we have a webcast with an overview of the Supply Diversity Program, and I encourage you to watch it. And the next slide will give you some important links to the OSD website, to the self-assessment tool that Wanda was mentioning, and to help desks for the Supply Diversity Program and the certification programs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over back to Bill for questions. Or for Jim, sorry. Okay.
Well, great. And wow, what a thorough presentation, Dimitri, Wanda, Bill. Thank you all. In the remaining time, we're also going to be joined by Suzette Water, who oversees DCAM contractor certification as well. I can tell you many years in the business of procurement and buying, particularly at the government level, this is as comprehensive a presentation as I think I've seen. So thank you for doing that. I've written down a bunch of questions, but I want to get to one in the Q&A. The veteran-owned businesses can certify through the same process? That's one of the questions in the queue.
Yes, it is. 5 years ago, the administration added veteran-owned businesses that can be certified by us. They can also, if they're already certified by VetBiz, which is the USVA's certification process, they'll just be automatically added to our certification list. If they're not certified by them, then we can certify them as a Massachusetts veteran-owned business.
Okay, and there's a question about fees, but I think, Wanda, you answered this. The initial registration is free, and that if the certification is with you, it lasts 3 years. And then is there a renewal fee, or is it?
No, everything's free.
Okay.
With the state, everything's completely free.
Okay, and can you be? There's another interesting question. Can you be certified in 2 categories, i.e. both minority and LGBTQ?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. These
so
are great
for the
questions.
LGBTQ, you apply through our third-party portal, and then for the regular, you apply through the SDO portal.
Okay.
And Jim, yeah, we actually promote any of your members, Pacesetters group that are certified in one category and then wish to be certified in other categories to please reach out to us. Again, we'll make that process as simple as possible. We'd love to get folks in multiple categories if they qualify.
Great. I don't know who mentioned this, maybe Wanda. How many businesses are currently certified, or what's the
About
one?
3,800, Bill?
3,800.
Yeah.
And the benefits of certifying, I thought that was interesting. But for the most part, it's I want to do business with the Commonwealth in some way, right? Is that what the motivation to certify would be?
Yes, that's the primary driver, I think, for a lot of folks. But we're actually looking to expand that because some folks can use it as a marketing tool.
Yeah.
With a focus, let's face it, in our society on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a great opportunity for businesses to be able to say, I'm a minority-owned business, I'm a woman-owned business. So we're actually, our certification is being utilized again by public entities, by the Partners Healthcare, by other types of organizations. So it is definitely a marketing tool that they can use for public as well as private opportunities.
Yeah, you anticipated my follow-up in your answer, Bill, that it seems like there's something we should be able to talk about more expanded use of this certification beyond just wanting to do business in government. I mean, so much to talk about. Bill, I'd be curious, you mentioned during your process of building this framework about removing barriers like experience time and experience doing business with a government agency, really perhaps unnecessary barriers to participation. I'm wondering if you could expand on that a little bit in terms of other items you might have found. We found in the private sector, for example, payment terms was a tough issue for small businesses.
Yes, that's a great one. And a lot of times it's not, it's really not intentional by agencies. They're not intentionally trying to block out diverse or small businesses. In many ways, they're just, a few months ago, having a discussion with an agency that was doing a procurement. They said if they didn't put in some terms that would kind of limit some of the number of bidders, they said we'd have hundreds of bidders. And our response is, what's wrong with having hundreds of bidders? If it may take a little longer to review and evaluate those bids, but we're looking for competition, we're looking for diversity, we're looking for inclusion. We don't want there to be limits on barriers to folks competing, because we want to make sure that it's not an insider's game. We want to make sure that all procurements are open, fair, and competitive. And it really comes down to really changing people's behavior when they're doing procurements. A lot of times it's very easy to just go to the guy you've always gone to. So we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity, that it's a clean slate when there's a new procurement coming out, and that everyone has, again, that opportunity to be able to bid on that.
Yeah, there was a question in the chat as well. This might have been on a slide, but I don't remember. Does SBA certify, and do you recognize their certification?
So they have different certifications. Wanda probably knows more about this, but there's something
we
like—
We don't recognize their certification if they come through, because that's a federal program.
Yeah, okay.
And ours is a state program.
Okay, great. And they do have some different terms in their certification, like small businesses that are, and there's some again, based on mostly federal programs that their certifications are based. So.
And this may bring Suzette into the conversation. We've done a number of these events. We did National Grid a couple of weeks ago, and they have certain certifications for certain specialties, right? They work in gas, for example. So beyond being certified as an MBE or other in other categories, do you run into situations where, okay, you have that, but now to do this type of work, you need another type of professional training or license or something like that?
What DCAM has is DCAM certification is required when it comes to projects that are listed under Chapter 149.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that there are some utility companies that work with our energy group that also list their projects under Chapter 25.
Okay.
And in that instance, there's certain categories that our energy group requires certification for in order to do those projects.
So there might be some specialty. I'm going to wrap up. We're running out of time, but I'm going to wrap up, Bill, asking what the status of the budget request is. We get involved in lobbying, so I want to make sure you have the resources. Did the governor's proposal survive the House budget?
Yes, thank you for asking, Jim. So our budget proposal from the governor was $2.477 million for the Supplier Diversity Office. The House and House Ways and Means and House actually pushed that through at that level. And the Senate budget is either out right now or coming out momentarily, I've heard today. So we're hoping that
I think tomorrow Ways and Means reports it out.
Okay, great. So hopefully tomorrow morning we'll see this Senate Ways and Means reporting at the same level. And again, this will make us available to even more businesses and agencies and public entities as a resource to be able to help them. So,
well, we're happy to support that, and we'll keep an eye on it for you and weigh in. Look, this has been a great presentation. Thank you for the work you're doing. It's so important in this moment. Look forward to finding ways that both the Chamber and the private sector can collaborate in more meaningful ways. I think we're all sort of rowing in the same direction more than we ever have before. And so let's keep trying to do that. Thanks for such a thoughtful presentation. Thanks for all of our attendees. I hope you were able to pick up a nugget of information and all of the connecting information. I think the big takeaway is register on combuys.com and you'll find a lot of information there. But we'll share some information from this presentation as well to the attendees so that they have it. And thank you for all attending and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.